Chapter 7 of Married Tries to Salted Fish. Once they finished packing up, Lin Qingyu and Lu Wancheng took their leave of Father Lin and Mother Lin to return to the Nananhao mansion. Everyone in Lin residence saw them off at the gate of the residence. Lu Wancheng got into the carriage first so that Lin Qingyu could say goodbye to his family. Although the Lin residence and the Nananhao mansion were both in the capital, it was not easy for the Shaojun of a noble family to go back to his natal family. According to the rules, he must at least get the permission of his husband's mother. The number of times he could visit his parents could be counted on one's fingers. Mother Lin's eyes were rimmed in red because of her reluctance to let him go. Lin Qinghe held his brother's hand and refused to let go. However, the most emotional one was Huan Tong, who had grown up with Lin Qingyu. When Lin Qingyu got married, Huan Tong wanted to follow him to the Nananhao mansion. For the sake of his future prospects, Lin Qingyu forced him to stay in the Lin residence. Huan Tong had neither father nor mother. By the time he could form memories, he had already been sold to the Lin residence. He grew up knowing only to follow the young master and to serve the young master. Without Lin Qingyu in the house, he didn't know what he should do. He spent his days feeling muddle-headed, and he seemed to have lost his reason for living. With much difficulty, he had endured, looking forward to Lin Qingyu's return to the residence. Now that he was leaving, tears flowed from his eyes and snot came out of his nose. He wanted so badly to follow Lin Qingyu back to the Hao mansion. He even asked Mother Lin to speak for him. Right now, you don't have anyone you can trust in the Hao mansion. You better take Huang Tong with you. That way, your father and I can feel a little bit more at ease. Lin Qingyu weighed the matter over and over. Finally, he nodded. Huan Tong, pack up and get in the carriage. Huan Tong burst into a smile amidst his tears. Lin Qingyu got into the carriage and briefly told Lu Wancheng about Huan Tong's matter. Lu Wancheng gave an absent-minded smile. This is a happy event. The Blue Wind Pavilion is now full of girls. The yin aura is too heavy. Lin Qingyu sighed. I just didn't want him to be trapped in the inner house like I am. Lu Wancheng disagreed. What's wrong with being trapped in the inner house? For a person with big ambitions like you, trapped may be the right word. But for me, please let me stay in the inner house my whole life, thank you. Lin Qingyu turned his head. People who walk different paths cannot make plans together. Oh, let me say that again. People who walk different paths cannot make plans together. The carriage started to move, and through the window, Lin Qingyu watched his family's figures gradually recede in the distance. Goodbye, Gege. Lin Qinghe waved his little hand. Seeing Lu Wancheng, he then plucked up his courage to say, Goodbye, Lu Wancheng, Gege. Lu Wancheng smiled. Goodbye, little Qinghe. Closing the carriage window, he said to Lin Qingyu, Your brother seems to like me very much. Lin Qingyu nodded. Qinghe has always had the bad habit of judging people by their appearance. I have thought of many ways to correct it, but it's a pity that he still only likes to get close to people with outstanding looks. The corners of Lu Wancheng's lips perked up. It seems like I heard someone compliment me on my good looks. Lin Qingyu glanced at him and said, You are indeed passable. Although he couldn't agree at all with Lu Wancheng's behavior, he could barely deign to look upon that face of his. Lu Wancheng was startled, as though he wasn't expecting Lin Qingyu to praise him. Even if Lin Qingyu himself didn't think it was praise, he was just telling the truth. Unexpectedly, at this time, Lu Wancheng instead became humble. I am overwhelmed. Oh, number one beauty. Lin Qingyu asked, "Who's the number one beauty?" "You." Lin Qingyu frowned. Such an assertion cannot be made. The world is so big and full of extraordinary things. Who could guarantee that they have met all the people in the world? Since no one has, there is no means to compare. Lu Wancheng smiled lightly and said, "But there is someone who has seen everyone in the world, and she told me." Lin Qingyu naturally wouldn't believe such nonsense. Absurd. Lu Wancheng's smile remained undiminished. He stroked his chin and said, "She also told me that this face of mine is in the whole book. I mean, in the entire Dayu, among the top 5. I think it's pretty average though. It's far more inferior than my face before." He has started once again on his long winded nonsense. Lin Qingyu closed his eyes to rest, cutting off Lu Wancheng's voice from his ears. Bearing any unforeseen incidents, Liang Shi should already know. What? Give me a sec. Barring any unforeseen incidents, Lang Shi should already know about Lu Wancheng's trip to the Lin residence with the 5 carriages of gifts. He had no idea what her thoughts were about it and whether she would use it as an opportunity to pick a quarrel. In theory, this matter had nothing to do with him, and if Lang Shi wanted to look for someone, she should look for her son. However, on the surface, Lang Shi has always spoiled Lu Wancheng. It was Lin Qingyu's guess that she wouldn't look to reason things out with Lu Wancheng. Tomorrow, when Lin Qingyu goes to greet Lang Shi, he will probably be given a friendly warning through oblique innuendo, I think. Whatever. Thinking of this, Lin Qingyu felt irritated. Once they arrived at the Nanahao mansion, the sleepy Lu Wancheng was carried out of the carriage. Huan Tong pushed Lu Wancheng, following behind Lin Qingyu. He looked around him curiously. When they were nearing the Blue Wind Pavilion, Lu Wancheng was almost awake. Yawning, he said, "It seems like we have gone the wrong way." This was clearly the way back to the Blue Wind Pavilion. Lin Qingyu said to Huan Tong, "Don't pay attention to him. Let's continue on." Lu Wancheng placed his elbow on the armrest of the wheelchair, supporting his forehead on his head. "According to the rules, now that we have returned from the Lin residence, shouldn't we go and pay our respects to my mother before returning to our room?" Lin Qingyu paused and looked back at him. "According to the rules, you should get up early every day and pay your respects to her, but have you ever gone?" "I haven't," Lu Wancheng said, using all his willpower. "All the more reason why I should go now that I am awake." Lin Qingyu was suspicious. Normally, whenever Lang Shi came to visit the Blue Wind Pavilion, Lu Wancheng would either simply go through the motions and exchange a few perfunctory words with her, or say that he was unwell, that it was inconvenient to meet guests. He has never gone to pay his respects to her even once. One could very well imagine the outcome of this kind of relationship between mother and child. Today, Lu Wancheng was ill and he had been away from the house for the entire day. He had also sat inside the carriage for a long time. He was obviously very tired. Yet, At this time, he actually offered to pay his respects to Lang Shi. Could it be lynching Hugh? Lynching Hugh had a vague guess. He said, Young Master Hao is very filial. Let us make our way there then. The two arrived at Lang Shi's courtyard. Lang Shi had just finished having the late night snack. When she heard that they had come to greet her, she had someone prepare some refreshments. Lin Qingyu pushed Lu Wancheng in to greet her. Seeing that Lu Wancheng's complexion was not good, that exhaustion could be seen from the corners of his brows and eyes, she said, distressed. Although it is only a matter of course for a husband to accompany his wife for her visit back to her parents' house, Wansheng is ill after all. Even if he doesn't go to the Lin residence, would surely understand. Lu Wancheng smiled and said, Chinyu said the same. He even set off without telling me to stop me from going. Mother, do you think he should be punished? Lin Qingyu raised his brows. Lu Wancheng really did come for this matter. Lang Shi looked at Lin Qingyu, revealing no trace of her expression. She paused and said softly, Lin Qingyu was thinking of your health. What is there to punish? Lu Wancheng chuckled and said, Since mother has said so, then he won't be punished. But it should be taken as a precedent. Can you give me some time alone with mother, Qingyu? Lin Qingyu's feelings were complicated, but he agreed. Lu Wancheng chatted a bit more with Lang Shi. He then, seemingly inadvertently, mentioned the return gifts. Qingyu's return gifts were taken from my birth mother's dowry, so I didn't tell mother in advance. Mother surely doesn't mind. Lang Shi smiled. She took a sip of the tea and said, Those were left to you by your biological mother. Naturally, how it's dealt with is up to you. Lang Shi was not Lu Wancheng's biological mother. Lin Qingyu had heard of it earlier. Lu Wancheng's biological mother was Nanan Hao's original spouse, the formal daughter of the capital's most influential official, Wen Gaogang. Wen Gaogang had two daughters. One married into the Nanan Hao mansion, the other was the current empress. Lu Wancheng was born into the Hao mansion and also had a prominent maternal family. He had a promising future. It was a pity that his biological mother died due to excessive bleeding during the difficult delivery. Related to his premature birth, he was born frail and sickly and was judged at birth to not live past 20. Nanan Hao his Nanan Hao loved his eldest son dearly and exhausted all efforts to treat him. He didn't dare to train him as strictly as one would a normal legitimate heir. Later, in order to have someone manage the affairs of the mansion, he married Lang Shi as his second wife and became the father to a daughter and another son. Lu Wancheng had been raised next to Lang Shi since he was a child, and Lang Shi put him first in everything. Though she was not his biological mother, she was even better than a biological mother. At least, this is how the matchmaker put it to Lin Qingyu before he got married. After returning from Lang Shi's place, Lu Wancheng was almost at his limit. After taking his medicine, he lay down flat on the bed. Lin Qingyu also rested on the Lauhan. The two were still separated by the screen with the mandarin ducks playing in the water. Lin Qingyu thought back on all the things that happened today and couldn't help asking, Young Master Hao, are you asleep? Lu Wancheng's voice came from behind the screen. Not yet. Why? Care to have a nightmare talk by candlelight with me? Lin Qingyu said slowly. Actually, you're not a fool. Of course I'm not, Lu Wancheng said with a laugh. What were you thinking? When I was studying, I always got a first place. Lin Qingyu didn't believe it. Could a bag of lazy bones like you even get first place? Lu Wancheng's voice was fading. Hmm, being tired of learning and getting first place aren't in conflict. How did you figure that? There are some things that I hate to do, but I know that doing it would bring me benefits. So I force myself to do them. This is the case with studying. It was also the case with paying my respects. Lin Qingyu thought for a while and then asked, but you have been laid up in bed since you were born, so how could you have had the chance to study with others? Lin Qingyu waited for a while, but when he didn't hear a response from Lu Wancheng, he knew that he had fallen asleep. Past the first month, the days were getting warmer. Winter, the almost difficult time of the patient, was finally over. As the days warmed up, Lu Wancheng's body was obviously getting better. He didn't need to rely on a wheelchair to get in and out. Aside from sleeping, he also liked taking a walk with his pet birds. He liked looking at the flowers, Tao Hu, watching plays. In short, he liked all things fun that didn't need him to move. On this day, Li Qingyu was in the study, dispensing medicine according to the prescription. The prescription was the one written by his father the day of his visit. He wanted to figure out the theory behind it. As for whether to use it for Lu Wancheng, he hadn't decided yet. In this prescription, several of the ingredients were toxic and would cause extra pain to the patients after taking them. He wondered if there were other relatively milder ingredients that could replace them. A crisp bird cry interrupted Lin Qingyu's thoughts. This sound was mellow and pleasant to listen to. It would be a pleasure to listen to it during his leisure time, but hearing it when he was trying to concentrate was annoying. Lin Qingyu didn't want to bother with it at all. He closed his eyes and tried to engross himself in his work. But the bird cry was incessant. Top it off with the burst of laughter, and Lin Qingyu couldn't bear it anymore. He got up and opened the window and said coldly to a certain someone who was taking his pet bird out for a walk, "Young Master Hao, please control your bird." Lu Wancheng heard his voice and looked back. He had a golden bird cage in his hand. Besides Huang Tong, he was surrounded by a group of orioles and swallows, all little maids of the Blue Wind Pavilion, attracted by the singing of the Huamei in the bird cage. Behind him was a golden peach blossom tree that had bloomed early. "It's Dr. Lin." Lu Wancheng talked to him through the window. The spring breeze blew, and his tail end of his tone was full of smiles. "Would you like to play with my bird?" Lu Wancheng's face was still morbidly pale, emaciated and bony. He had a lazy and casual bearing with a handsomeness akin to tipsy elegance. However, it gave Lin Qingyu the sense of a different kind of breath. He had the inexplicable feeling that Lu Wancheng shouldn't have this too weak to even stand up against the wind kind of luck. Rather, he should be a young man, lying low on horseback with a story full of red sleeves beckoning. "I'm busy," Lin Qingyu said. "Can you keep the noise down?" Lu Wancheng said, "I'm sorry, but You have been locked away in the study for most of the day already. You should take a break. Huan Tong agreed. That's right, young master. The sun feels so good today. You can come listen to the birds singing with us. The pursuit of petty pleasures, thoughts, high aims. Sorry, I won't be able to keep you company. Lin Qingyu finished speaking and closed the window with a slam. Lu Wancheng said regretfully, your young master can be really boring sometimes. Huan Tong and Lu Wancheng were playing together, but he still kept his family's young master firmly at the top of his heart. That's because we are in the Hao mansion. When he was in the Lin residence, the young master wasn't like this. Lu Wancheng thought that of how Lin Qingyu had followed his mentor to study away from home for many years and said, you're right. After that, he smiled again. But even if he's dull and boring, I think. Before he could finish his words, a violent crash suddenly came from the study. Everyone hurriedly pushed the door and entered, only to see Lin Qingyu leaning against the bookshelf, with several medical books scattered around, along with a fallen wooden stool. Huang Tong said anxiously, young master, are you okay? Lin Qingyu said calmly, I'm fine. I just accidentally stepped on air when I was putting down the book. He looked very uncomfortable when he saw so many people crowding around the door. Have you all nothing to do? Lu Wancheng supported his arm and said with a smile, don't be shy. A falling beauty is still beautiful. I didn't fall, I just sprained my ankle. Lin Qingyu couldn't help letting out a low groan when the sharp pain hit. Help me to the bedroom, there's medicine there. How can you walk like this? Lu Wancheng said. I will carry you there. Lin Qingyu said in surprise. You? What has gotten into Lu Wancheng? Has he suddenly forgotten about his weak body? Lu Wancheng had Lu Wancheng slid his hand to his waist and took him up into his arms. With this embrace, Lu Wancheng's face changed slightly and his body shook abruptly. He narrowly missed toppling over along with the person in his arms. Fortunately, Huan Tong was beside him to hold him steady. Lin Qingyu turned pale from the pain. I'm begging you, don't toss me about anymore. Lu Wancheng has never been as flustered as he was now. I'm not. I'll do it, young master Hao. I'm strong. Lu Wancheng watched as Huang Tong easily carried Lin Qingyu on his back and quickly ran to the bedroom. He suddenly gave a low laugh and said, damn it. Oh, that's our Lu Wancheng feeling sad that he couldn't even lift this beautiful Lin Qingyu. Man, obviously he was a healthy teenager in his OG life, probably with his behavior of he will do few things not because he likes them, but he should, and he has and if it has benefits. I'm pretty sure he was like the popular kid at school, good at studies and sports, so he probably was was decently strong to lift someone, just helping them like this. So probably took a hit to his ego a lot. Author's notes. Are you even still a man if you can't even carry your wife? Oh my gosh, author, please don't take a jab at this poor man. He is already feeling so hurt. Oh my gosh. Okay, see you in next chapter.